Hello class. In this last video I want to talk to you about some conflict skills and strategies. One of the best things that we can do to manage conflict effectively is to try to be provisional and try to put ourselves in that other person's shoes, in that other person's situation. Taking the other person's perspective will go a long ways towards diffusing any conflict that you find yourself in. Specifically though, the text mentions some conflict management skills, and I want to begin by talking about relationship level meanings. As we've been talking about all semester, we learned that each piece of communication, each message, has a content level meaning and a relationship level meaning. The conflict or the content level meaning is essentially what's happening with the specific grievance or problem that's being aired. The relational level meaning is the relationship that you have with the other person who has made the grievance. The two of you may be best friends. The two of you may be husband and wife. You may be father, son, or mother, daughter. It may be a superior subordinate work type of relationship. Any number of different relationships can find themselves embroiled in conflict. You must attend to the relationship level meaning. In the relationship level meaning, people are going to say things like they were embarrassed, they were hurt, they felt minimized. If the person who's making the grievance can talk about how they're feeling and how your behavior has damaged the relationship using I statements, then the relationship level meaning is really, really obvious. Sometimes it won't be as obvious. Sometimes they will, just say something to the effect of, you didn't take out the trash again. And that's really all you'll get. You know that you're in the doghouse, you didn't do your chore. They may not say, when you don't take out the trash, it makes me feel like you don't love me. They may not say something like that, but that may indeed be what the other person is thinking. So sometimes attending to that relationship level meaning is really challenging. And in particular, I think it's challenging for people who don't do a good job reading the emotions of others. And sometimes you have to invite the other person to kind of unpack their emotions to determine what it is that they're actually feeling about that particular issue. Next is develop a communication climate that is supportive. And we talked about some different communication climates that were good. In Chapter 8, we discussed descriptive, provisional, spontaneous, problem-oriented, empathetic, and egalitarian as being positive communication climates. We also discussed defensive climates, which involved evaluation, certainty, strategies, control orientation, neutrality, and superiority. So make sure that you are engaging in positive communication climate, and that you're engaged in evaluation, control, and
back. Um, Am I hearing this other person right? Is that actually what they're saying. The text goes on to talk about at length why this is really important in online communication, and I completely agree with the text in that regard. Very important in online communication. You may need to actually get in touch with the other person and say, hey, what did you mean by okay? What did you mean by this short little curt response that I got? Am I reading too much into this sentence? Is that what you're saying there? In particular, if it's a relationship that you want to continue to value. Oftentimes, there's no way to determine or ascertain what people are actually thinking in emails and in written communications such as texts. You have to be provisional. You have to give other people the benefit of the doubt. You can check your perception either with the sender of the author or with a trusted confidant to see if maybe you're reading too much into it. And remember the Goldman video that we watched where we discussed the empathy neuron and the 3 different tones of email, and that should help you a great deal in making sure that you're accurately interpreting other people's intent in online communication. Next is look for points of agreement. If the two of you are agreeing on something, start with that. Talk about those shared values. Talk about the things that you agree about. And usually in any organization, everybody wants the organization to do well. Everyone wants the organization to be profitable. Everyone wants the central purpose of the organization, whether that's learning or making money or producing a better product or serving your customers. Whatever the central purpose of the organization is, to be successful. And if you can both focus on that shared outcome, the thing that the two of you both want the most, then you can begin to kind of unpack those different perspectives about how you get there. And focusing on those shared values is a great way to ensure that you engage in productive conflict. It will give both of you an opportunity to kind of stop and reflect on your behavior. Look for ways to preserve the other's face. Face is, of course, making sure that other people don't feel embarrassed and making sure that other people feel supported. That's, of course, a very key element in constructing a supportive communication climate. Don't try to show the other person up, and in particular, don't try to show the other person up in public. Doing so, no doubt, will cause them embarrassment and cause them shame. A lot of research indicates that most violence, and in particular workplace violence, is a result of shaming behavior. So if a boss or someone is shaming other people in the workplace, that oftentimes leads to workplace violence. So make sure that you're not engaged in those type of supervisory behaviors. It will dramatically decrease the propensity that there may be violence in your workplace. Next, imagine how you'll feel in the future. You say something really horrible to your best friend, or you disclose a secret that they've confided in you many years ago in front of a lot of people. Imagine how you're going to feel about that the next day. Are you going to feel embarrassed? Will you think, well, so-and-so kind of got what they had coming? More likely than not, you will regret the damage that you did to the relationship. So think about how the long-term implications of your decisions today are going to impact not only how you feel, but how that other person is going to perceive you in the future. And make sure that you engage in the old adage to do no harm to the relationship. You don't want to win the argument and win the debate, win the discussion so bad that it winds up damaging your relationship in the long term. The text then goes on to talk about some guidelines for effective communication during conflict. And I would entreat you to read all of those. I only want to talk about 2 of them. Aim for win-win conflict. If both of you can feel like you won something and both of you can feel like you sort of got your way, that is always the most productive outcome to any conflict situation that you might find yourself. And finally, last thing I want to leave you with is show grace when it's appropriate. If someone does honor you with an apology, if someone does say, you know what, you brought that to my attention, I've done some soul searching about it, I was wrong. Don't just kind of fold your arms up and say, well, I knew you'd come around to my perspective. When you're as wrong as you were in that situation, inevitably, you will come to your senses. That is not a graceful accepting of an apology. And more likely than not, that type of behavior is going to result in that other person retracting their apology and the conflict starting back up again. If someone does honor you with an apology and someone does humble themselves by saying, what can I do to make this better? Don't
kick them while they're down, and don't make it more challenging for them to engage in a positive communication climate than it already is. Apologizing is never easy. All of us are ego involved in ourselves and in being right. And if you can, as the recipient of an apology or as the recipient of some type of a concession, engage in some graceful behavior, then the conflict, more likely than not, will result in the relationship improving rather than deteriorating. If the other person apologizes to you and you are ungraceful about accepting the apology, I promise you it'll be a long time before they apologize to you again. And it will also probably lead to significant long-term damage to your relationship. So try to avoid that, show some grace, be as graceful and humble as possible in the face of a concession in an argument. That's the only way to really ensure that both sides win, and ultimately that the relationship wins. So a key part of attending to the relationship level meaning of communication is showing grace. I hope that you learned something about different types of conflicts and different responses to conflicts. I hope that you'll be able to use some of these principles that are articulated in the text to engage in more productive conflict, and that if you do have to engage in conflict, that it supports your relationship rather than deteriorates it or detracts from it. Thank you for listening.